So this is going to be a little bit of a different video. I just wanted to go through some information that came up from IGN about Red Dead Redemption 2, so let's just get into it. So earlier today, IGN put out an article about their first impressions of the game, gave a little bit more information about how the game works and how it looks, and they actually got some screenshots from Rockstar themselves, so I took a look through there and I took out some key information about the game, and I thought I'd share it with you guys. So the first thing that the article says is that you're kind of Dutch's right-hand man in the gang. So you're kind of keeping the group together, you're working on relations between them, and you're kind of, you know, the second boss in a way. So the demo IGN scene took place in 1899. IGN said that they were on a camp outside of town made out of makeshift like wagons and tents and stuff. And it was because a group of bounty hunters and lawmen were searching for them, so they were kind of laying low in a place that they wouldn't be found. After that information, IGN posted a few pictures that they actually got from Rockstar themselves. The first one showing a gang of people riding on horseback with their guns drawn, so it shows that they're probably running away from the law or bounty hunters or something. The next picture that they posted was a picture of a landscape with a bear in it, and it just looks so good, like the grass textures and the rays from the sun, and just the bear itself, like the fur on it, it's so good. The next picture is Arthur Morgan guiding his horse, and on the back of the horse is actually a rabbit hanging from the saddle, and then a deer, it looks like, hanging off the back of the horse. So in Red Dead Redemption 1, you could put people on the back of your horse, and you could carry them different places if they had their feet tied up and their hands tied up, but now it looks like you can actually put animals on your horse and transfer them. So maybe that has to do with like taking it back to camp and skinning it and cooking it, and it's just going to be a really cool mechanic. The next picture is actually John Marston with the cuts on his face and on his lip. He's holding a revolver, but an interesting thing to see is that there's actually no stitches in the scar on his face. In the third trailer, you can tell that the scars were freshly stitched because the stitches were still there, but it looks like here they're gone, so it takes place a little bit further in the story than the trailer showed. The next picture is of Arthur Morgan. It's a bit of a closer up picture. It's something that we've seen before. It's just Arthur Morgan, just a bit closer, I guess. And then the next picture is a picture of the entire gang of the Dutch's gang. So it says from left to right, there is Dutch van der Linde, Bill Williamson, Javier Escuela, Arthur Morgan, an unknown person, then Micah Bell, Sadie Adler, and then another unknown person. So I think this is the first time that we heard the female's name. She is Sadie Adler. I don't believe that they said in any other trailer. I guess IGN picked it up for maybe the demo that they seen. The next picture is of a camp with the wagon that IGN described with a bunch of different items on there. And then it actually shows everyone sitting around a campfire with a guy playing guitar. So it's going to be pretty cool, things that that'll happen there. People talking about stories and guitar playing and just the camaraderie between everyone in the gang. The screenshot after that actually shows Arthur Morgan riding away with the rabbit and the deer on the back of his horse, and he's riding past the barn. An interesting thing to note is that in the article, IGN said that if you go by someone's land or if you're on their land, they might come after you because they don't want people on their land. They might come up to you and ask you, hey, what are you doing? You know, get out of my property. And I believe IGN said that they were going up to someone's camp and they started rummaging through their stuff, and the guy was fishing by a lake, and I guess he made like a noise or something, and the guy came back and he was asking you what you were doing, and Arthur Morgan just kind of threatened him, and the guy kind of backed down and went on and just kind of wimped out, I guess. The next picture is of a robbery, maybe like a bank robbery or something. The gang has masks on, and there's explosions going on in the background, and it looks like a pretty densely populated like city. One guy's holding a rifle, the other guy's holding a revolver. I believe the person in the foreground is Arthur Morgan because of the blue shirt that he tends to wear. After that, there's a picture of the camp that they're staying in with Dutch van der Linde in the foreground, smoking a cigar, and a woman sitting on his bed. So, yeah, more pictures of them in their camp and the forest, I guess. After that, it shows Arthur Morgan actually carrying a bow, which I'm fucking excited for. In most games, I like carrying around the bow and just going in silent. It's probably one of my favorite things to do. Even in PUBG, I go around with crossbows just to see what I can do. So I'm really fucking excited for that. That's going to be a really fun mechanic. After that, it shows Arthur Morgan holding a gun to a bank teller, telling him to, it looks like, open up a vault. And in the game, it said that you're going to be doing a bunch of robberies, telling people to get into different safes, and it's just going to be really interesting. After that, there's another screenshot of the gang running away. It looks like they still have masks on, so it's probably after a robbery. They're trying to get away from the law and trying to escape. Another thing is that IGN said that the horse is actually a important part of the game, where in Red Dead you could just get your horse shot and just keep going, and if the horse died you could just whistle from fucking anywhere and the horse would come back to you. But in RDR2 it sounds like the horse can actually get wounded and they can bleed out, and you have to get medical kits from like bags and stitch a horse back up and try to get it moving again. And it's important to keep the horse alive because horses have stats, and they said, for instance, that if you've been with the horse for a while, you can be a longer distance and the horse will come to you after you whistle instead of just being like a few feet from you. And it'll sort of keep you from just thinking that these horses are just some disposable thing. You can't just get rid of the horse. If the horse dies, you have to run back to town and buy another one, or go capture a new one. So it just sounds like a really cool mechanic, because in Red Dead Redemption it's just kind of ridiculous. Like you could shoot the horse and then 5 minutes later call one and it'll be just fine, just a new horse, like out of nowhere. The next picture is John Marston and Sadie Adler shooting, probably at lawmen again. It looks like John Marston is actually holding two guns. There's a pistol in his right hand and a shotgun, it looks like, in his left hand. And Rockstar actually said that you can't carry like a million weapons like you can in GTA 5. Like, just you're carrying a pistol and fucking pull a minigun out of thin air. So you're gonna have to pick what guns you want to bring with you. You can have a revolver and like a shotgun, but if you have that, you can't bring like 5 more shotguns with you. The next picture is of Arthur Morgan. The caption to the picture is that there's dynamic weather. So one minute it could be sunny, the next minute it could be raining. It's not really a new thing. It's kind of been like that in most Rockstar games, so that's nothing new, but it's still a really cool picture regardless. After that, it shows a wolf. I'm really excited for the wildlife in this game. Hunting was always one of my favorite parts of Red Dead Redemption, the first one, and I'm just glad to see that return. I believe it was in the second trailer that they showed that some of the wildlife would actually hunt themselves, so like you could be walking along in the forest and all of a sudden see a pack of wolves attack a rabbit. So that's going to be pretty cool just to watch what happens, instead of you just always causing mayhem and you being the center of everything. It's going to be a whole world outside of you, which it's going to be pretty cool. After the screenshots, the article goes in to tell about the camp life and how you have to kind of walk along and talk to people on the camp about like what's going on and how they are and their needs, like food and water and stuff. So that's going to be a pretty fun mechanic. You're kind of going to be like a keeping up with this camp while also just kind of doing your own thing, instead of in Red Dead Redemption 1 where you're just kind of a lone wolf doing whatever the fuck you wanted. Later, the article goes on to say that the horse is a bigger part of the story. You kind of have to keep it around to carry more supplies with you, carry animals, and it's going to be a bigger part of the game in all. The article then goes on to talk about a hunt that Arthur went on where he shot a buck, and the article writer went into huge detail about how realistic it seemed and how the buck screamed in pain and then walked for a little bit, and Arthur had to follow the blood trails to finally find the deer collapsed, and the deer was kicking, and Arthur had to finish him with his knife. And then in Red Dead Redemption, you could just kind of take out your knife and get what you need from the deer, but in this game, you actually have to take the deer, put him on the back of your horse, and take him back to camp and do it that way. It's a lot more realistic, and it sounds pretty cool. The writer then talks about how if you left out the deer for a while, it would start to rot, and if you plan to sell that deer, you wouldn't get as much money from a merchant that you took the deer to because of the decay of the meat. So it's something you gotta keep in mind whenever you kill a deer and you plan to sell it. Same with the condition of the deer. Like if you shot it with an arrow, it's going to be worth more than if you shot it with a buckshot, and the deer was just riddled with bullets. You wouldn't get as much money with it. Cleaner kills gives you more money. After that, the protagonist Arthur goes back to camp, and the people in camp decide to go on a bank robbery, and they take a girl named Karen, and she pretends to be in distress, and she walks into the bank, and while they're distracted, the gang walks in and starts holding up the place. They blow open the vaults and take as much money as possible, but then they start hearing people outside the bank, lawmen, so they send out the girl, and she kind of distracts them for a little bit, and then Arthur and the rest of the gang come out, and it actually shows off the Deadeye that was present in the last 2 games, so it's nice to see it return back in this one. When the gang is getting away, they actually talked about how they were on horseback and a bullet whizzed past and hit Arthur Morgan in his hat, knocked his hat off, and then he had to leave it. And later on, IGN asked the developers, and the developers said, yeah, that's, if you want that hat, you have to go get it, instead of just, you know, the hat being a static thing. If you leave it behind, you have to go buy a new one. That's just really fucking cool. Games now don't have those little details like the old games used to have, like Metal Gear. You could do some insane shit. It was just things were code in the games that just were there for fun, and that just seems really cool, and just world building, and it's insane the level of detail that Rockstar put into this game. So that's really everything that came out of this article. It's really cool to see that Rockstar is putting this level of detail into the game, and I know this is a bit of a different video, but if you guys want to see stuff like this, comment telling me like, yeah, this is pretty fucking cool, and maybe I'll make another one about Red Dead Redemption or some other games coming out, I don't know. But yeah, leave a like and subscribe and hit that bell icon, because fucking YouTube doesn't care about putting people's stuff in subscriber boxes. So yeah, see you guys in the next one.